When an attorney says, I am lawfully authorized to represent a person, there are documents that must have been signed by the person that he claims to be representing. You may not know this. This is what I'm telling you. Those are those documents are the power of attorney and a letter of instruction. Now that is just by way of a background. And do you follow? And do you understand?
My lord, I do follow, I understand,
Thank you.
and I know of these forms. I am aware. Contrary to what Advocate Nisi is saying, I am aware that instructions will be given and they will be written down, my lord.
Incwadi-ke ukhuluma ngazo-ke ukuthi-ke kunencwadi-ke ekufanele zibe khona-ke noma igcwaliswe-ke uma kuwukuthi umsolwa-ke uqoka ummeli ngiyazazi-ke lezo ncwadi lezo okhuluma ngazo.
Now, I know that I do not represent Mr. Tanzi, but I have been following the proceedings here at court. And the following questions would not be based on a specific instruction that comes from Mr. Tanzi, but will be based on what I have heard, which is already on record, and what transpired here at court. And I'm doing this solely because I'm an officer of the court trying to assist this court to come to an equitable finding. Do you understand?
I understand, my lord.
Thank you. Now, and I don't want to put the cart before the horses, but you would realize that up to this point where we are, there's been no letter of authority, a letter of representation and a power of attorney that has been made available to the court as confirmation that Mr. Mzinyati, Mr. Mchiyako was lawfully representing accused number 2. Would you agree with that?
So, my lord, firstly,
Before Brigadier Yena answers, there's no such obligation on the state or anyone else except the client to produce such proof. The client is the only one who would have, it's between client and attorney. The client is the only one who would have such document. How can it now be that proposal be put to Brigadier Yena when this is attorney-client privilege? These are not documents that are in the public domain.
As it is the court, my lord, I think the state misunderstands my trajectory. In instances where the client says, I do not know that legal representation, he basically saying, I do not know him. It then becomes incumbent upon the state to come and say, if they want to rely on the assertion that you are represented by this and this and this person, it therefore becomes incumbent upon the state to come and say, you know what, or make an application to the court and say, can the court please grant us the indulgence to piece the attorney and client thing? Yes, a privilege. And the court will grant. But nonetheless, my lord, nonetheless.
It's violable constitutional right of the client.
May the court please just listen to what I'm saying, my lord, up to its finality. Yes. The client says, I do not know this gentleman. He never represented me. I never signed any document. Yes. Thank you, my lord. We are together, my lord. Thank you.
And as a court, please, my lord, the state did, as we've repeatedly said, led the evidence of Ms. Fathillingham, and I just want to quote from the record of the 26th of June 2024,
No, but
page
that's not
11.
procedural, my lord. Mr. Bando, you will have the indulgence to re-exam. This is my rostrum. This is my time now. If he feels that there is something that I've said which is not compatible with what the record says, he will have the opportunity to go back to that aspect in re-examination. He cannot just, in the midst of me being busy with my cross-examination, and then start to refer the court to some sections
I
in the
don't know what he
record.
wants to refer the court to. So you only allow him to say what he wants
No,
to say?
I already know, madam.
Oh, you already know?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Because he has already mentioned that there's a testimony of Mrs. Vitillingham, which has got to do with some cell phone, I think, communication.
He's quoting from the record.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
But that is what I'm saying, my lord.
Okay,
This,
fine.
now, this is my time to cross-examine.
Okay, fine, let's go on.
If he wants to raise it, re-exam is coming.
Okay.
Thank you, my lord. It's a pity that my flow gets interrupted here now and again. But nonetheless, I remain steadfast.
So, my lord, what I wanted to say
Yes.
in response to that is that, firstly, as I indicated, my understanding, and I respect those boundaries, there's attorney-client privilege. It is not for me to detect as to who the accused or suspect must appoint and why did I appoint that person. That's the first part.
Okokuqala ngiyakuhlonipha-ke okuphakathi kommeli kanye nalowo ammele ukuyena-ke umsolwa noma lowo oboshiwe ukuthi ubani amqokayo-ke okokuqala lokho.
And it is not for me to request the written instructions or mandate from the suspect to say, show me the proof that, I've never done that, my lord.
Akukho kumina-ke ukuthi ngithi kumsolwa-ke noma lowo oboshiwe-ke ukuthi ngicela ungikhombise-ke incwadi noma-ke okubhaliwe-ke okuyisiqinisekiso sokuthi-ke ngempela uqoke yena-ke lo mmeli angikaze ngikwenze lokho.
And that, my lord, in other words, it continues. It's not an isolated incident when it comes to Mr. Mjiako. So after Mr. Mjiako, there was Mr. Tobane, and then later Advocate Tifo. Subsequent to them, then there was Mr. Ramsipile. None of these legal representatives ever approached and say, give me the proof that you have a legal mandate to this person. In fact, my lord, at some stage, both Mr. Ramsipile and Mr. Tobane were before court, and it was not clear as to whose mandate is on. I never said now, because there's this confusion that you are here, you said you have a mandate from the family, and this one still thinks he's got a mandate. Give me proof as to how you got this mandate. And I'm referring to Mr. Ramsipile specifically. I never asked that, my lord, because it's the constitutional right for the accused person to appoint whoever he so pleases and to terminate whatever mandate he wants to terminate.
Lokhu-ke akukho nje mayelana ngaye-ke uMjeko kuphela-ke kwenzeka-ke lokhu ngizokhuluma ngaye-ke uMr Ramsipile kwabe kukhona futhi naye-ke uMr Thobani futhi-ke singekho-ke isiqiniseko omunye ethi-ke umndeni ungiqokile-ke angikaze nakubona-ke ngiye kubona-ke ngithi ngoba-ke khona-ke manje lokhu ngabaza okukhona-ke ngicela ukubona incwadi-ke ethi ngempela ubani okuyena uqokiwe ekufanele angikaze ngikwenze lokho angikhulumi njengomjeko kuphela.
That's my response, my lord.
Thank you, sir. Brigadier Yena. The circumstances are totally different. We are talking here on instance where accused says, I do not know that man. I never gave him mandate to come represent me. With these latter instances that you're referring to, Tobane, Mr. Ramusipili, and who's the other one? Mr. Tefu. There are no such allegations that are coming from accused, but nonetheless, the circumstances are totally different.
No, I disagree, my lord. Yes, I forgot, my lord, Mr. Ngomezulu as well. But also, my lord, I wanted to say I disagree with what Advocate Mnisi is saying. And I dealt with this part during my evidence during the trial meeting trial,
Yes.
where I said when accused 2 specifically appeared in court, he was legally represented by Mr. Mjiako. And we even went through the records or the transcript of the proceedings of the 27th of October. There was no way where he said, I don't know this advocate or this counsel, my lord. It's there. We dealt with this part.
Ukhuluma ngezimo-ke ezahlukeneke lana ngoba lapho labo babalayo-ke uMr Ramsipile, uThobani, u-Advocate uTefo, akukho la kunomsolwa khona-ke owathi cha angibazi-ke labameli, kodwa lana-ke kumjiyako sikhuluma ngomsolwa-ke uthi cha angimazi lo mmeli angikaze ngimqoke-ke mina. Akusilona iqiniso lelo ngoba sikhulumile-ke lokhu kunala umsolwa ayovela-ke phambi kwemanje wamelwa uyena-ke uMjiyako. Akukho la khona-ke enkantolo athi khona cha akusiyena ummeli wami lo angimazi.
As it please the court, my lord. Now, as I indicated earlier on, that I hold no specific instruction in this regard, but this is, I am saying this in view of the evidence that is already on record. I'm discerning this from the testimony that is already on record. As I'm saying, I hold no specific instructions from accused in that regard. I think that should be put beyond doubt, my lord. That I'm not taking over the representation of Mr. Ntanzi. Thank you. Let us proceed. Now, you are being requested by a commissioner. By the way, who's the commissioner that you said requested you to take over this case because it's been years that things have not been happening in this case? Sithole.
Yeah, I'm not so sure how I put the instruction that he gave me, my lord, but it was the former National Commissioner, General Sithole.
Thank you.
National Commissioner.
Angisakhumbula ukuthi ngitheni-ke uma ngikusho-ke lokho kodwa ngishilo-ke ukuthi kwakuyena-ke uGeneral uSithole owathi-ke owangiqoka ukuthi-ke angiqhubeke ngalelo cala.
Thank you. General Sithole says to you, Brigadier Yena, we seated with a bit of an embarrassment on our desk here because there's an incident that happened in 2014 and up until now it's 2019. There's nothing that seems to be happening. Can you please come and assist? And as a diligent officer of the South African Police Services, you said, no, it's fine. I am up to the task. Not so. Just to give a very brief summary. I'm not saying those are the exact words which were used.
Yeah, yes, my lord, but the summary is also not accurate. So the interaction, firstly, let's deal with the year accurately, was 2018, because I signed for the docket on the 12th of November 2018. That's the first part.
Okokuqala ke nje isifinyezo lesi ke esenziwe ke asikhondile ke ngoba ke asiqale ngonyaka ke kwangasena ke u2019 uma ke uGeneral Khehla sithole ekhuluma nami ke malana lecala kwango2018 ngoba uma ngiqala ke ukuthi ngilisayindele idokothi kwakunge 12 November 2018.
Secondly, my lord, it was a mandate. Police officers are given instructions, not that you have a view to say, yeah, I can do it or no, I can't do it. It was a mandate from the National Commissioners to say they have decided to appoint me to lead a team, not Brigadier UGininda, to say you will work with this team under this unit, the cold case unit. So it was myself, and I dealt with this aspect, my lord, to say there was Lieutenant Colonel Ramohala, Warrant Officer Makubo, and Lieutenant Colonel Butelez, who were seconded to assist insofar as this matter is concerned. So it was not an isolated thing to say it is you who must now deal with this matter, go and assemble your team. I was not given that mandate. I was given an instruction. This is a matter that has been, the police has been seized with, which is unresolved. We are appointing you to lead the team. You will work with these two other members that are seconded under the cold case unit, my lord. That's how it came about.
Okwenzeka ke lana ukuthi ke manje ke kase kuphuma ke izwi ke noma senitshelwa ke ukuthi ke aba national office bathathe isinqumo ke sokuthi mina ngizohola ithimba akuthi kwakuzoba yimina kuphela ke bese mina ngiyahamba ke ngiyoqokela elami ithimba ke kwathiwa ke kuzoba wena uBrigadier UGininda uRamohala uMakhubo kanye futhi ke noButelezi mina ke ngizohola lelo thimba lelo ukuthi ke kusetshenzwe kulona lecala leli.
And yes, my lord, I complied with that instruction.
Ngabe senami ngiyavuma ke kuloko engakutshela.
Thank you. Brigadier, before I forget, there's an issue that has been pended here that relates to Exhibit 8X, that will inform statement. I think we will revisit that issue and other issues that will arise there as and when you will be making available those other forms of the warning statements and stuff like that. I just wanted us to be clear on that one, that it has not been finalized, it's just put in abeyance. Thank you.
Understood, my lord.
Thank you. Then after having assembled a team that you had to work up with, you started to investigate. And then fortuitously you stumbled upon Constable Zungu.
Yeah, in essence, my lord.
Yes.
Yebo ke ithimba lelo seliqokiwe ke siphenya ke sabe yebo ke sesihlangana naye ke noma finyelela kuyena ke uConstable Zungu.
Now, having stumbled across Constable Zungu then gives you information which was a lead to what we, or which then was a lead to what is now happening here at court, not so.
I suppose, my lord.
Thank you.
I suppose, but the proper sequence, my lord, like I've said, and I've dealt with this part, it refers to his father. The father comes on board, Mr. Absalom Zungu, and then a statement is then taken, which initially leads to 1 and 2, and then from 2, then the other accused are then picked up in terms of the name 3, 4, 5, my lord.
Bese ke manje senikhulumise noma senihlangane naye ke uZungu waholela lokho ke kuloko ke manje esibhekene nako ke la phambi kwenkantolo ngicabanga kanjalo kodwa ke ukulandelelana kokwenzeka kwezinto ke kungendlela bengisho ngayo ukuthi ke kwaba ubaba wakhe uConstable Zungu uMr Absalom Zungu waqala ke lapho ke kwakhomba ke umsolo wokuqala kanye nowesibili emuva kwalokho kwasekulandela ke u3 4 kanye no5.
Thank you. Now, on several occasions, you had told this court that in terms of your investigation of this case, the conspiracy to assassinate the deceased Senzo Meyiwa, with regard to the planning and everything, took place at their hostel, not so?
Yes, my lord.
Kumahlandla amaningi ke ushilo ke ukuthi ke ukuhlanganyela ke ukuthi ke umbondo ube wodwa ke noma ke kukhulunyisane ke ukuthi ke khanjwe ke kuyobulawa yena ke uSenzo kwenzeka lokho ehostel yebo kuyiqiniso.
Thank you. Now, the planners. Who were the planners of this plot?
My lord, what we have, and we have in terms of the statements that we touch base on, we have it in the confession of accused 2, is the accused before court that we can place in the hostel. The name of Ms. Kelly Kumalo as a trigger point is mentioned, but she's not at the hostel. So the only people that are placed at Basutini hostel is the 5 accused, my lord.
Manje ke uma kukhulunywa ke ngabantu okuyibona ke abahlala phansi ke base behlanganyela ke bekhuluma ke ngeinhlelo ke noma behlela ke bona lokhu kwakuwobani lokho sikhulumile ngabo ke ukuthi ke abantu abehlangeneke noma bese hostel ke kwakuyibona abasola abahlanu phambi kwenkantolo liyavela ke igama lakhe uMnisi Khumalo kodwa yena ke wayengekho ke khona lapho ehostel abantu bese hostel abasola labo abahlanu phambi kwenkantolo.
Thank you. When was this planned?
But my lord, we have statements, and unless then Advocate Umnisi wants me to go there, because then it will go to other people that are not before court, who indicates who said what at what stage. If that is the question, and I'm expected to answer it, then I'll go to those specifics. But then I'll have to refer to the statement so that there's no dispute.
Manje kwakuwobani ke abahleli noma abantu ke ekuyibona ke abakhlela ke lokhu uma ke ngibuza loyo mbuzo ke kuzofanele ke siye manje kwi-statement zabantu abangekho ke lapha phambi kwale nkantolo ekuyibona ke abakushoyo lokho.
So you are saying that the planning took place at the hostel, and you are basing that on, number one, on the confession, on the alleged confession that was phoned from accused number two.
That's correct, my lord. But also statements of one or two individuals who makes reference to the events of that day, my lord, when the incident took place.
Manje ke uthi ke lokho kushoyo ukuthi kwahlelwa ke lokho futhi kuhlelwa khona noma kwakhulunywa ke ngakho kwenzeka ehostel uthi ke lokho ukuthatha ke kwi statement lesi ekuthiwa isona ke sogonyuluka sakhe umsolo wesibili yebo kanye futhi ke nomuntu oyedwa noma ababili ke nabo ke abashoyo ke ukuthi ke lokho kwenzeka ke futhi noma kwenzeka kuphi nendawo.
Thank you. Now, subsequent to the information that you received from Constable Zungu, you proceeded with your investigations, got what you got, and ultimately, accused number three got to be part of those people who were fingered and eventually arrested and charged with the commission of these offenses, not so?
It is so, my lord.
Manje uyasho ke ukuthi kwakhulunyiswana naye ke uZungu uphenyo laqhubeka ke lokho kwaholela ke uthini ke umsola wesithathu kube umunye wabantu ke abakhonjwayo ke ukuthi babe yingxenye ke yokwenziwa kwalokho yebo kuyiqiniso.
Just for the record, it's not Constable Zungu, it's Mr. Absalom Zungu that provided the information. Counsel is referring to information obtained from Constable Zungu. That's not what the witnesses said.
No, I'm talking about Constable Zungu. I do not know Absalom Zungu. Constable Zungu was here testifying. I haven't referred to Absalom Zungu. And this witness has actually said yes, he has always been saying yes, correct. So I'm not so sure what then the state's worry about me referring to Constable Zungu. I'm not so sure if I may proceed. Oh, I thought the state would want to make a follow-up. Okay, no, thank you, madam. Now, accused number two also gets arrested because of the then information that you received from Constable Zungu and got charged as part of the plotters to kill Sanjome. You are not so?
Yes, my lord.
Thank you.
Yes, my lord. Yes, but let me put this because I don't want you to go incorrectly. When I say yes, Constable Zungu, it's in the sense that Constable Zungu is the first person who came to the office of the National Commissioner alone. So he brought the information, but then mentions his father, who then came before. From the time he arrived to the time his father came, there wasn't really much that we were doing because there was no statement. Only on the 17th of November, 2018, then the father came and a statement then kicked in. This is now of Mr. Absalom Zungu. The one of Constable Zungu, my lord, came into existence last year, my lord, and I dealt with this part and I indicated that it came into existence because as I was investigating, or we were investigating, his name keep on cropping up as the person who was also present in this gathering at the hostel on the day of the incident. That's how it came about. So all I'm saying is that the sequence of events, it is not that Constable Zungu is the one who gave us indication to say 1 and 2. He only brought information to say, I have this information that implicates the two people based on the information I received from my father. And I wanted to see the father, my lord. And that was done on the 17th of November, as I've said. I've indicated, my lord, that we met. There was a struggle to find the father, but eventually on the 13th of November, 2018, we met with Constable Zungu, with Brigadier Perumal, and that is where it was confirmed that the father is willing to make a statement. Arrangements were made on the 17th of November. The father came and disposed the statement. This is where now the citing of 1 and 2 was then confirmed under oath, and then we moved accordingly, my lord.
Manje ke selenziwe ke uphenyo emuva kokuthi kukhulunyiswane ke naye ke uZungu uyaboshwa ke umsolo wakhe wesibili ke ngokuthi ke uyingxenye ke yalabo ekuyibona ke abahlela lokho. Yebo ngithi yebo ke, kodwa ke uma ngithi yebo ke ngiyafuna ukuthi ngichaze ke ukuthi kwenzeka kanjani ukuthi ke yebo uConstable Zungu umuntu wokuqala owezake, kodwa ke awasitshela kona yasitshela nje ukuthi ke lokhu ayesitshela kona into ayithola kubaba wakhe, base kuukuthi ke manje kudingeka ukuthi kuzeke ubaba wakhe impela ke ubaba wakhe wezake uma ubaba wakhe eza kwakungazo i-17 zika November ngo-2018 yena-ke uZungu sakhe statement esatholakala kunyaka ondlule kodwa kwakuyistatement esikababa wakhe esaholela-ke ekuthini kuboshwe yena-ke umsolo wokuqala kanye nowesibili bese kuthi ngeyi-13 zikaNovember 2018 ila esihlangana khona-ke naye uZungu kanye nobrigadier Perman esisitshela ukuthi ngempela ubaba kuyimisele ukuthi eze.
Thank you. Now let's go a bit back. Now, before the arrest of accused number 3, it is common cause that this case was initially investigated by other members of the South African police. Would you take this court through the process of you acquiring that initial case docket from them? Or let me put it this way. Did you have sight of the case docket that was initially investigated by the first team?
Yes, my lord. So, if I understand correctly, and Advocate UMnisi will correct me if perhaps I'm misunderstanding him,
Yes.
the docket that is before court, the docket that I inherited on the 18th of November 2018, is the same docket that was investigated by the previous investigator. So, I inherited that docket and carried on with the investigation.
Ingabe-ke siyazi-ke ukuthi kwakunethimba-ke elaliphenya ngaphambi kokuthi-ke uqokwe wena-ke ingaba-ke idokodo leleko walithola-ke kulelo thimba yini? Yebo, idokodo leli-ke elilona phambi kwenkantolo yilona leli engalithola-ke kulabo ababekhona-ke bephenya ngaphambi kokuthi uqokwe mina.
Thank you. We are together there. Now, subsequent to the receipt of the case docket, is it correct that then you went through that case docket to find out if there is something or things or statements or form of information in that case docket which would assist you to carry out the mandate that came from General Sithole?
So the initial part, my lord, as I indicated, was first to establish, because that's what we're seized with, to establish as to whether they were intruders or no intruders. That was a primary task that, for me, that was a kick-off point, because there was, as I've said earlier, my lord, these assertion or allegations that there may have been no intruders. Once that part was cleared on my mind, that indeed, and based on the fact that I've articulated to this court, my lord, that they were intruders, then the process of trying to find the so-called perpetrators was then embarked upon, my lord.
Okokuqala-ke bengikushilo-ke lokho ngaphambilini ukuthi-ke kwakuwubheka-ke noma-ke futhi kwakuyikona-ke esasitsheliwe-ke lokho ukuthi-ke asiqiniseke noma sithola-ke ukuthi babe khona yini abangena-ke endlini ngoba-ke kwakuwukuthi-ke kufuneka ukwazi-ke ukuthi ngempela kwangena abantu noma cha. Yilapho-ke ngaqala khona-ke uma-ke manje sekutholakele-ke lokho noma sikutholile-ke ukuthi ngempela-ke bakhona abantu abangena kwakumanje-ke ukuthola-ke labo bantu labo ekuyibona abakwenza lokho.
And that exercise, my lord, was extended to the other members as well, to say collectively, but individually, not sitting together so that we don't influence each other. We should actually look into the docket individually and then come up with the views based on evidence as to whether they were intruders or no intruders, and then work the investigation according to that, my lord. In other words, the drafting of the investigation plan would have been motivated by the fact of whether there were no intruders or they were intruders.
Futhi-ke nokuthi-ke manje sikhulumisane-ke siyithimba ukuthi-ke umuntu futhi-ke azenzeleke singahlanganyeli-ke lokho ukuthi-ke omunye manje ebesethola umthelela komunye ukuthi-ke siqiniseke noma sitholeke ukuthi ngempela babe khona yini abantu abangena bese kuthi manje-ke iplani-ke yalo uphenyo-ke izohamba-ke ngokwaloko esikutholile.
Yes, I'm done, my lord, sir.
Thank you, sir. So amongst others, the reason why you ultimately had to conclude that they were indeed intruders, it was because you went through the statements of the witnesses who were in the house, and so?
No, not really. As I've said, my lord, the people who were in the house were questionable to me. So I didn't really want to rely on. I wanted to rely on the circumstances around them to see if there's credence or there's evidence to support what is being alleged. So what I relied on was the statements of the neighbors. If we talk about statements, my lord, was the reliance of the cell phone, which I've indicated, my lord, that it was picked up at a different tower when everyone else could be accounted for at the hospital. It was the issue of the DNA, my lord, where I said there was a DNA which excluded the people who were in the house, because one would have expected that if there were no intruders, that DNA that was found in the house should have been read into the people who were in the house. But there was a DNA that was picked up there which excluded everyone in the house. What it indicated, there was a donor except the people who were in the house. So I looked at the statements of the neighbors and I tried to look at the forensic evidence in the form of the cell phone tower in relation to the phone that was alleged that it was robbed, the movement of Mr. Long's Twala insofar as the tracking system of how it went, my lord, and the DNA, because those for me were reliable, were credible. That was credible evidence. But in addition, then I looked at the neighbors, which in my view, my lord, as I said, I couldn't find reasons to believe that these people could be influenced. Then yes, indeed, what those people said, I then matched it with what the people were saying in house. But my focus was not on them, because at that stage, I was not sure as to whether what they were saying was the truth or not at the beginning, my lord.
Ekuqaleni ke kwakhona ke noma ke ngangingancikanga kwitatimende zabantu ababesendlini ke ngoba ke kwakukhona ke ukusola ke ngakumina ke futhi ke ngingazi ukuthi noma lokho abakushoyo kuyiqiniso noma cha. Ngabheka ke itatimende zabo makhelwane ke ngoba ngithola ke noma ke kunento ethi ke bona ke akukho la noma ke okunomthelela kubona ke nokubheka ke futhi ke itawa nokuthi ke i-cellphone noma ke umakhalekhukhwini lo ekuthiwa ubona ke owathathwa ke khona lapho ukuthi wawukuphi ke yena ke uMr Longwethwala manje ke base ngihlanganisa ke nalokho okuyikona ke okushiwo abantu ababesendlini ke futhi nokubheka futhi ke omakhelwane kodwa hayi ukuthi nganginike kulaba ababesendlini bese futhi ke sikhuluma ngalo ke ulibofuzo noma ke i-DNA.
My question was, amongst others, you were assisted by the statements that you found in the docket, whose statement of the witnesses were in the house, to come to the conclusion that they were indeed intruders. That was my question.
Yeah, but my lord, that's what I was answering, that it was not really there because those statements were questionable. It was only the corroboration at the later stage, the corroboration when I was now satisfied that these people outside, in addition to the evidence that I spoke about, that the scientific evidence, my lord, what these people are saying in bits and pieces corroborates with what these people inside the house were looking at. But for me to come to a conclusion or to a view that they were indeed intruders, I wasn't guided by the statements that were in the house because the people who were in the house at that stage, my lord, were questionable. I was not sure whether what they were saying was the truth or not. So I wanted to be informed by reliable sort of like evidence or statements that at least I can count on, my lord, to say these people have no reason to lie. But yes, once that perception or understanding was formed, I then looked at what was contained inside the house in terms of the statements that were made, which then made me find a corroboration with what other people were saying outside, my lord.
Kodwa ke kuwona ke lo mbuzo engiphendulayo ukuthi cha ngangancikileke kuloko noma kwitatimende zabantu ababesendlini ke ngoba ke mina kwakukhona ke ngabazi okwakukhona ke mayelana nabantu ababesendlini ukuthi lokho abakushoyo kuyiqiniso noma cha. Ingakho ke ngisho ke ukuthi ngase ngibheka ke manje itatimende zomakhelwane ukuthi bona ke bathini. Kamuva ke uma sengikuhlanganisa ke ngathola ukuthi impela lokho abakushoyo abantu abasendlini ngempela ke nabo omakhelwane basho khona lokho ukuthi ngizothola ke ukuthi ngempela bakhona abantu abangena noma cha.
Are you done with the explanation?
I'm done. The other part that I looked at, my lord, was the ballistic. I didn't mention it, which is forensic as well, that I looked at, my lord.
Okunye engakushongo ke engakhulumanga ngakho ke ubufakazi ke ophathelene nebhangi phecelezi ke ama-ballistic.
Yes, my lord. I'm done, my lord.
Thank you. Now, you just mentioned or indicated in your explanation that the statements of the people who were in the house were questionable. Can you explain how questionable were they and why do you say they were questionable?
I'm saying, my lord, they were questionable in relation to what I was seized with at the beginning, the fact-finding mission. Not that I read the statement and I said these statements are not the truth. I'm saying at the beginning it was a fact-finding mission, my lord, of establishing whether the people who were inside the house are telling the truth when they say they were intruders or they're actually lying. Because there was this cloud hanging around them, my lord, I didn't want to be contaminated by what they are saying. I wanted to rely on more reliable evidence around them. So the questionability, it's in that instance, my lord. Not that I was saying what X and Y is saying is actually not correct. It was simply my view to say, because there's a cloud around these people, let me park them. Let me look at the preliminary investigations around these individuals, including, my lord, the first responding officers. I didn't touch base on them, Matibula and Mteto, those people, to say when they arrive at the scene, what first response or report was given to them. So it was to establish whether there's credence in what the people who were in the house were saying or not. So the unreliability is insofar as that, not what they said, my lord.
Uma ngithi ke kwabukhona ke kuba nemibuzo ke noma bekhona kungabaza ke mayelana nabantu ababesendlini angisho ukuthi ke uma kuukuthi ke othize washo lokhu ngangithi mina ke akulona ke iqiniso lokhu ngoba ke ngaleso sikhathi leso ke kwakuukuthola iqiniso ukuthi ngempela kwenzekani ke ukubheka ngathi ke manje ngibahoqiseke laba ke ngibheke obunye ubufakazi ke ingakho ngikhuluma ngabo ke omakhelwane okunye futhi ke ngakushilo ilamaphoyisa ke afika aqala ke kwindawo yesigameko uMathebula kanye noMthetho ukuthi lokho abakutshelwa yiba abantu laba abesendlini ukuthi kuyahlangana yini ke nalokho ingakho ngisho ukuthi ke eqaleni kwakukuthola iqiniso ukuthi kwenzekani.
Yes, my lord.
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done, my lord.
Now, what is it that you found in their statements as you went through them, if you did, that made you to come and say that their statements were questionable?
My lord, I thought I answered that. I thought I dealt with it just now, that it wasn't insofar as what they were saying. I've answered it, my lord, that it was in relation to the fact-finding mission, whether they were intruders or not the analysis of what they were saying. I was not there. It was simply saying, these people, there's a cloud around them, that they may be lying, because that was the essence of what was being said. Because if there were no intruders, my lord, and yet the statements are saying they were intruders, the inference that one can draw without a shadow of a doubt is that these people are lying. So my mission, or rather my first point of departure, my lord, which I felt was important for the investigation team, was for us to be certain whether we are pursuing the people who were inside the house insofar as this matter is concerned, or we are looking for intruders. Hence I took the view, my view, that I'm going to ignore what these people who are inside the house are saying and look at objective evidence. And that is where now your forensics evidence comes in, your DNA, your ballistics, the AVL that I spoke about, my lord, the cell phone locations, in addition to the neighbors, because I wanted to be guided by that preliminary report, my lord, including the first responders, the call that came through, before the first responder came in. So it was based on that. So when I say the people who were inside the house, they were issued their statement, I'm not saying I read and found difficulties. I wanted to park them and be informed or guided by objective evidence, my lord, so to say.
Uma ngikhuluma ke nabantu laba basendlini ngithi ke kwakukhona ke umbuzo ke noma ke ungabazake engikushoyo ukuthi ke kwakunaleli fuke la ekuthiwa khona ke noma ekucabangela kakhona ukuthi labantu kungenzeka ukuthi baqamba amanga ke manje ke kwakuubheka ke ukuthi lokho abakushoyo kuyiqiniso babe khona yini abantu abangena lapho ke endlini ingako ngisho ke ukuthi ke ngathi ke angibekeke lokho bakho ke ngimeke ngalokho bona ke abakushoyo ingako ngikhulumile ngobufakazi ama AVL ama cell phone locations kanye namaphoyisa oqala ekuyiwona afika ke lapho kwakuhlanganisa ke ukuthi ke laba basendlini basho lokho ingaba abanye abantu ke manje ke amaphoyisa oqala afika lapho atshelwani wona khulumani ama cell phone kanye futhi ke nayo iAVL hayi ukuthi ngangithi lokho ababekusho kwistatement zabo babeqamba amanga.
Sorry, my lord, when I say AVL, I'm actually referring to the tracking system in Mr. Long's toilet, just to use the right chronology of the words, my lord.
Uma ke ngikhuluma ngayo AVL ngisho ngayo ke ukutracker noma ke ukulandela ke i-tracking system mayelana naye ke uMr. Long wetwala.
Yes, I'm done.
Despite that long winding answer, you made it very clear, you said it very clear, that the statements of the people who were in the house who witnessed this incident were questionable. Now my question is very pertinent. What is it that you found in your statement when you went through them to make you say that their statements were questionable?
That's a good question. I think the witnesses explained at least on 3 occasions as to why, he said that he elaborated. I don't know why he's been now asked the same question now for, I think, the 3rd or 4th time.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
All right.